The envelope arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, tucked neatly beneath his apartment door. A quiet surprise nestled among the mundane clutter of grocery receipts and building maintenance notices. It was different, heavier than typical mail. The paper was a rich cream color with a slight, satisfying texture under his fingertips. There was no return address, just his full name, written out in careful, deliberate handwriting. It was the kind of script that felt both familiar and distant, tugging at a recognition he couldn't quite place. It was like hearing a faint melody from another room, a song you know you've heard before. But the title and the memory of where you first learned it remained just out of reach. He found himself staring at it for longer than he expected, the world around him fading into a soft blur. He didn't open it right away. Instead, he placed it on the small table beside the row of succulents catching the last of the afternoon light near his window. He then turned to his evening routine, a ritual of watering the balcony plants across the building. But tonight, there was an unusual silence to his movements. He moved with a deliberate slowness, his mind clearly elsewhere. He found himself checking the soil moisture twice, trimming leaves that were perfectly fine, his hands moving automatically while his thoughts were tethered to that cream-colored envelope. She noticed. Of course, they met in the stairwell later, her arms full of laundry, his hands still faintly smelling of damp earth. "You look distracted," she said, her voice soft, her eyes searching his. "Mail," he replied simply, the single word feeling heavy in the air between them. "Good or bad?" she asked, tilting her head. And certain, he left it there. One word that felt more significant, more laden with unspoken history than any lengthy explanation could ever be. She seemed to understand, giving him a small, knowing nod before continuing down the stairs, leaving him alone with his thoughts and an open letter waiting in his apartment. Later that night, long after the last sounds of the building had faded and the city had settled into a low hum, he finally returned to the envelope. The world was quiet, and he felt a strange sense of calm as he carefully tore open the seal. Inside, there was no letter, no long explanation, just a single photograph. It was an indoor greenhouse, bathed in golden sunlight pouring through large glass panels. He saw rows upon rows of carefully arranged plant tables, a sea of green and life. Hanging vines cascaded down from the ceiling like verdant curtains, and then he saw it, the intricate metal watering system, a web of pipes and spouts that he had personally designed so many years ago. His breath hitched. He turned the photograph over. On the back, written in that same careful, deliberate handwriting, were just 7 words: "They still grow the way you taught them." There was no signature, but he didn't need one. He knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his bones, exactly who had sent it. He gently placed the photo face down on the table. It wasn't an act of avoidance, not a refusal to look. It was an act of respect. Respect for memories that were so potent, so full of life and loss, that they deserved their own time and space before being touched again. He would get to them, but not tonight. Tonight, it was enough to know they were there, waiting. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, follow, comment and subscribe my page for more at Ukmiggle Copyright.